Hi everyone, welcome to week 12 of our SHSAT training program. So this week's grammar topic is going to be pronoun usage and agreement. So pronouns are sort of like a very obviously major part of the English language. Even in like the sentences that I've been using up to this point, I've used a lot of pronouns. I'm sure I'm not going to list them out specifically because I don't remember exactly what I said, but you can find a lot of pronouns in everyday speech, and it's really important to know the types of pronouns, which ones are grammatically correct, and also why, so that if they ask you a question like that on the test, you know how to answer and you're poised to properly answer it. So the first thing we're going to look at is the types of pronouns. So there's 5 main types of pronouns, and these are subject pronouns, possessive pronouns, object pronouns, reflexive pronouns, and demonstrative pronouns. So the first are the subject pronouns. These are pronouns like I, you, he, she, like whatever. These are pronouns that can be used as the subject of a sentence. So for example, a grammatically correct sentence would be like, I go to the store, or she goes to the store, or we go to the store. These are all sentences where the subject is a subject pronoun instead of saying, the name of the person. Like instead of saying like, Samantha goes to the store, I could say she goes to the store, and then she is sort of standing in for the noun Samantha. So the main thing is like pronouns are sort of like words that can be used in place of a noun. So in that case, like instead of saying Samantha, I would say she, which is a pronoun referring to Samantha. So the next is possessive pronouns. So these are sort of like my, yours, his, whatever. So for example, this is my pencil because the pencil belongs to me. Therefore it's mine. These are possessive pronouns, sort of show that something belongs to something else. So, for example, if something belongs to you, it's yours, and yours is the possessive pronoun that refers to like the thing that belongs to you. So the next are object pronouns. These are sort of like a lot broader, and they can be used in a lot of different contexts. So it's sort of hard to pin down exactly what the definition is. The way I think about it is like they're the pronouns that you use if no other pronoun makes sense. But, some general examples is like if I'm giving something to someone else, I would say like I would use an object pronoun. So for example, like if I give you this pencil, you would be the object pronoun in that case. And then I is a subject pronoun because I'm the one doing the action. Or like if I'm saying something about someone else or doing something for someone else, those are all cases in which you would use object pronouns. The next are reflexive pronouns. These are when the subject and the pronoun are sort of like referring to the same thing. Like, I pat myself on the back. I'm doing the action of like patting on the back to myself. So since like the object and the subject are the same in this case, you would use a reflexive pronoun. And lastly, there's demonstrative pronouns, which are meant to like single out and show to everyone else the specific thing you're talking about. Like for example, if I said, this pencil is white, this is a demonstrative pronoun that shows that I'm referring to this specific pencil that I'm holding in my hand. If it was farther away, like I would say like that pencil is white. So like it all just depends on the context, but in general, when you're like pointing at something and saying like, okay, this one, that one, these ones, those are all demonstrative pronouns. So these are like the types of pronouns. It's obviously a very brief rundown. We can get much more into detail, but we don't have time in the video. And I will say most of the time, like with subject-verb agreement, like it's just clear sort of if you're a native English speaker, some things 95% of the time will just sound wrong if they're wrong and sound right if they're right. But it's always important to know like why it's right, why it's wrong, and if it's wrong, what would the right version be? So pronouns agree with the subject if they match the subject in number, person, and gender. Those are the 3 things that this is like, you can think of it as a checklist. If you check off all 3 of those boxes, it means you have an agreeing pronoun with the subject. So number is the most sort of important one and the one where the most issues show up, maybe person as well. So the team lost their or its game, right? The team is a singular subject, and I talked about this in the subject-verb agreement video as well, which you guys should definitely go back and watch. The team is one thing that's being talked about as one unit. It's not talking about the members of the team, which obviously would in that case be plural. It's talking about the one team itself. So it's not the team lost their game, it's the team lost its game, because the their is a plural pronoun. It is a singular pronoun. And notice they're both possessive pronouns in this case, because it's like talking about the game as if it belongs to the team that lost. Person. So all pronouns have a person. So if you look, like for example, I and we are first person pronouns, because like if you imagine I'm talking to you in a conversation, the first person would be when I'm saying things that include me. So like I and we are both pronouns that, you know, I'm included in. I is like I'm the only person included, and then we is I'm included, but so are like some other people. You would be all the pronouns in which you are included. So like you is the only one actually, because you is both singular and plural. And then, so those would be the second person pronouns. And then the third person pronouns would be like he, she, they. They're talking about like other third people, if you will, that are not included in the conversation happening between me and you. So if you look, when someone drives, you or they must pay attention. It's they, because, you know, I'm not saying like when you drive, you should pay attention. I'm saying when someone generally drives, they should pay attention. It wouldn't make sense to say you, because then it'd be switching from someone, which is a third person pronoun, to you, which is a second person pronoun. And gender. So this one is sort of less prevalent and is like rarer to see errors in gender, because English, unlike some other languages, does not have gendered nouns. So some languages have like some nouns are masculine, some nouns are feminine. And, you know, you have to watch out for that as well when you're choosing which pronoun to use. That distinction doesn't exist in English. This is just a pencil. It's not like masculine or feminine. It's just a pencil. So the one thing is when something is unclear in gender, when the gender of a person is unclear, you always use their, which is a plural pronoun, even if it's referring to one person. So for example, someone left their keys on the table, because it's one person leaving their keys on the table, but we don't know if this person is like uses masculine or feminine pronouns, so we're just going to use their as a sort of ambiguous pronoun. So this is like actually just a grammatically correct thing to do. It would be grammatically incorrect to say someone left his keys on the table, unless we already know that this is someone that uses like masculine pronouns. If I was saying he left like blank keys on the table, it would be incorrect to say he left their keys on the table, unless there is a possessive pronoun referring to someone else's keys. I know this is getting kind of confusing, but it would be correct to say he left his keys on the table, because he already implies that the person leaving their keys on the table uses masculine pronouns. So, and this is somewhat similar to subject-verb agreement, except instead of agreeing between the subject and the verb, we're trying to make agreement between the subject and the pronoun, which is different, but it's the same sort of concept, or the same idea. So the first example we're going to look at is this. So he or they is a very bright young man. So there are two sort of strategies we can use that sort of talk about two different topics. So the first is we can use the verb in the sentence to figure out what the subject should be, because notice that he and they are both subject pronouns. So like he goes to the store and they go to the store are both sentences where like he and they are their respective subjects, therefore they're both subject pronouns. So the first thing we can look at is the word is, which we know is a singular verb. It's like is means that it's one person doing the action, and they is sort of multiple people. Even in the case that like they is referring to a singular, ambiguously gendered person, it would still be incorrect to say they is. You would still have to change the verb to match the subject. So it would be they are. So the word is tells us that the correct answer is he. However, we can also look at the end of the sentence where it says bright young man. So a man is someone that uses he, him pronouns, or like it's implied in this case to be someone that uses he, him pronouns. So man sort of tells you that you have to go back, and it's no longer an ambiguously gendered person. It's now known to be someone that uses masculine pronouns. Therefore, the correct answer is going to be he. The next one. I can tell her or she really tried hard to perform well. Okay, so this one's sort of tricky. If it's saying, I tell her that she tried to perform well, like I am telling this person that she performed well, then the correct answer would be her, because we said, right, that her is an object pronoun. And object pronouns, one of the cases that they're used for is when you're telling something to someone else, you would use an object pronoun. However, this is not saying I'm telling her that she tried to perform well. It's saying I can tell, or like I see with my eyes, that she tried hard to perform well. So this is sort of like two separate clauses that are being merged into one, but this is really what we care about. The first part is sort of just fluff, and it's not related to the actual heart of the sentence, which is the fact that she tried to perform well. And so in this case, we'd have to put she, because the subject of this smaller clause is she, and the action she's doing is trying. So like we have to use a subject pronoun. We can't use an object pronoun. So the correct answer would be she, which is the object pronoun. Next, can you give the gift to it or him once you get to his party? So, the reason we can't just right away say, okay, him, is because it is also an object pronoun. And, although it doesn't really make sense to be giving gifts to things that use it as their pronoun, it does work in some cases. Like, for example, if, I don't know, you have a gift for someone's dog, and you're saying, okay, can you give this gift to it? And it would be referring to your dog. We don't use it to refer to people, but we can use it to refer to other things that we may be giving gifts to. But the giveaway is once you get to his party, because his is already a masculine pronoun. So we have to go back and be like, okay, that means we're using masculine pronouns. So we're giving the gift to him because it's his party. Therefore, him should be the object pronoun that goes with his, which is a possessive pronoun. And last one is, please remind her or she the importance of being on time. Okay, well now, like we're sort of telling someone, we're reminding someone the importance of being on time. So this is sort of similar to the case of telling someone or, saying something to someone. We should use an object pronoun because we're reminding her that it's important to be on time or whatever it is we're reminding her. So the correct answer is going to be her, which is an object pronoun in this case. And it's not going to be she because she is a subject pronoun, and the person that they're telling to be on time or whatever is not actually doing any action in this sentence. They're talking about her as though she's not even there. So yeah, that's about it for pronoun agreement. It's a very wide topic that we could talk a lot more about. There's a lot more to know about, so I recommend that you guys maybe go, and if you don't understand something, either ask us in the comments as usual, or you can go and Google something on the internet, for example, if you have a specific question. So yeah, otherwise, I'll see you guys next week. Yeah.